Welcome to our podcast, Learn Biblical Greek, brought to you by Dr. William Stewart, the co-founder of Teleios. This captivating podcast teaches you biblical Greek through a verse-by-verse study of the book of Ephesians, interjecting Greek grammar, Greek word meanings, and vital theology concepts. Thanks for joining us on this exciting biblical journey. Your study will be more effective if you use the Greek text with the Bible word codes, either on the eSword download or Bible Hub website. These links are on our podcast website at www.teleiosresearch.com.
Hi, I'm William Stewart, co-founder of Teleios. Welcome back to our podcast on learning biblical Greek. It's my privilege to teach you this, and I'm so glad you're here. We're in Ephesians 4, verse 31, going through a list of commands, admonishments by Paul about how to live the Christian life. And we come to an important verse today, as they're all important, I guess, and or I know. And let's go to the text in verse 31. Open up that Greek text. Here we go. Pasa. So this comes from pas, that ever-present word for all. Now this is the feminine nominative singular. And it ends, the ending here is a SA. Now you remember pas is so complicated, but the root word is P-A-N-T. And in the feminine, it's thought to be an older form of Pontia. T and I often, T being a dental form, often contracts from an I to S. And as you know, the S elites the N. That leaves you with P-S-A, P-A-S-A. Okay, so Pontia, I and T contract the S. S elites the N, leaving pasa. Pikria, and this is bitterness, gall, extreme wickedness. I usually think of bitterness here. So this, of course, is a it's first declension, feminine, masculine, and feminine singular nominative. And kai, that very ubiquitous word for and. Thumos. Okay, so this is anger, kai, and we have orgy. So thumos, of course, is the nominative singular masculine, where orgy will be the nominative singular feminine, with that eta also representing the feminine gender. So, would typically 95% of the time be feminine. And of course, as we know, the nouns represent the declension, so this would be a first declension. So, orge also means anger. We've talked about orge before, earlier in this chapter. That means directed, purposeful anger, typically by God, that enacts punishment, and then it's over. The anger is over, it's righteous anger, and the punishment is over. Versus thumos is more of a non-directed, less purposeful anger that perhaps festers. Now we know from early in the chapter, I think it was verse 25, you could be angry and not sin. Again, the example of Christ and the money changers in the temple. He was angry. He rid the temple of them. The anger was over. But even righteous anger can fester and be too much and overdo it. You have to be careful not to sin in that verse. And so orgy can lead to sin. Thumos, of course, is sin. Krauge, so outcry, and this is really loud, nasty. It's not somebody whimpering over a loss of something or a bad incident. It's an outcrying, loud, tumultuous, perhaps self-purposeful outcrying. Something a person doesn't want to be around. Kai, blasphemia. This is, of course, can be have a also in the feminine nominative singular, but can be blaspheming God. So it can have a religious sense, but it can also be injurious speech and misspeaking. In arthito, comes from the word iro. Okay, so the root changes coming out of the present tense. So to AR. And this would be, I'm not sure if it's either a second aorist with there's a root changes or completely different root from another word. Probably what happens is that the iota elites and just leaving AR. I think that's called Ablaut, which for basically German, away from the sound, literally, but meaning I just don't know why this happens. Theta eta, of course, is the sign, tense formative for the aorist passive. So remember, the aorist is at one time particular tense of something that is finished, typically. And the toe, then, you'll remember, is the third person singular command form for the aorist. So let it be removed. Off is from apo, the preposition, away from. Taking the genitive, it's F because of the U starting the first word. So it becomes you lose the vowel at the end, and the P becomes an F. Umon, U, that omega N, of course, is the genitive, plural. Soon is a preposition meaning with, so it's in place. It takes the dative. Passe, here we have, again, this S ending, the eta, also the dative, singular, feminine. And kakia, bad. So it also ending in an A. So remember, this being a dative, if you have the marks, accent marks, there's a subscript iota, which contracts with the A or the iota and is seen at the tip of the eta or A. And of course, it doesn't show up in most texts because it doesn't have the accent marks. So what do we have? All bitterness and non-specific anger, I guess you'd say, and directed, purposeful, righteous anger, that's too much, and outcrying and misspeaking or blasphemy to God, let it be put away from you with all bad. So with badness also. Okay. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll continue. We'll get to the last verse in this great chapter next time. I hope you'll join me then. Goodbye for now.